Can you see me?
Yes, Bear, we can see you.
Awesome. Terry Keith. Artorius. Shalom, y'all. Good morning. Andy Barnes. Shalom, brother. Now that's a good brother right there. Andy Barnes. I like that guy. Like him a lot. I'm gonna keep him. Shalom, Jen and Steve. Bad Wabbit. What's up, sister? Shalom. Gobbler Blaster. What's going on? All right. Taylor Smiley. Shalom. Good morning, everybody. So I'm sure for a lot of people, what's up, Sanctified? They're like, what is up with this Coffee Time with Bear stuff? Like, you know, I'm familiar with the brief. I'm familiar with the prepper content. You know, Coffee Time with Bear. Oh, this is why you're taking so long. Shalom, my lovely wife. Yes. Well, part of why I'm taking so long is I put way too much water in the water tank. And so I had to crawl back here so that I didn't flip the four-wheeler. And what's up, Alpha Charlie Concepts? Good morning. Canuck, good morning. Good morning to everybody in the chat. So I had to crawl back here so I didn't end up wearing the four-wheeler coming across the creek, you know, where it comes up steep like that. And then I'm glad I did put so much water in the water tank because the sheep are almost out of water. And it takes a hot minute to fill the water. And then I felt compelled to do Coffee Time with Bear. So here we are. And Coffee Time with Bear, what that is it's a much more informal conversation, 2, 3, maybe 4 points in the day. It's not scripted like the brief is. You know, I have a written script that I read during the brief. And it's not pre-recorded like the prepper content is, where I have a single point that I want to dive a little bit deeper on. And it's certainly not like the pre-recorded content on Patreon, which is like Q&A. So it's a little bit of a different animal, a little bit of a different offering here at this channel. And it's something that I do when I have the time to do it, usually Tuesdays or Thursdays. And when I have the time to do it and when the Spirit moves me to do it. And luckily for y'all, or unluckily for y'all, we shall see. It's been lining up the last couple of days, you know, Tuesday, Thursday, that, hey, I should do a Coffee Time with Bear. Plus, honestly, it's good for me. I like it. It's, frankly, I'm already out here. I like watching the sun come up. Got a beautiful sunrise this morning. Cows have been fed. Sheep have been fed. Although I have not done the turkeys yet. So, how are the gloves working out? Great question. So far, I like them. Like most gloves, they don't do great when you get them wet. But so far, I like them. They're keeping the paws warm. And I need that. It's not cold this morning, but there was some frost on the pumpkin. So, depending on which set of false weather prophets you believe, it was just above freezing or just below freezing when I walked out of the house this morning. But there was definitely ice on the sheep water tanks, and there's frost on the field. And, you know, so it's just below freezing. Not cold, but, you know, cold enough to warrant a pair of bibs and my Carhartt jacket, Origin hoodie, and my big old wool gloves. Because as I've stated previously, my blood is a lot thinner than it used to be. When I used to cut timber in upstate New York, my guys would always joke that they could always find me. Morning, double tapping hillbilly. Shalom, brother. Haley, good morning. They would always joke that they could find me because they could follow the clothing trail back into the woods. Because I'd walk out into the woods like this, and then you start moving and start cutting. You know, jacket comes off, you leave that on a stump. You move another few hundred yards, hoodie comes off, you leave that on a stump, because now you're getting warm. And you move another few hundred yards deeper into the woods, felling timber, and homemade gummy bears. D.L. Hemingway, good morning. And, you know, I'd take my Dickies long sleeve shirt off and lay that on a stump. And then you'd find me somewhere with a pair of boots, pair of Carhartt dungarees, sleeveless t-shirt, and a toboggan cap like this on, felling timber. Sometimes with, snow up to my knees. And then once you get done moving, right, as the end of the day starts coming, and especially in the winter when the days are shorter, the sun gets low in the sky, you start getting chilly again, you start walking back to the truck, and it's like, oh, There's my long sleeve. Sweet. You throw that on and you walk another few hundred yards. There's my hoodie. Throw that on. Walk another few hundred yards. There's my coat. Throw that on. Hop in the truck, warm back up again. So, yeah, but I'm not that way anymore. It's been 2 decades since I've cut timber in snow up to my knees. So, I fell lumber. Awesome. How many lambs on the ground? Great question. We currently have 26 head of sheep, and 12 of those are adults or juvenile males, and the other 14 are babies. So, good morning. Is the Book of Enoch a thing? Oh, sure. Absolutely. Enoch 1, or the original Book of Enoch, is absolutely a thing. There's a lot of historical precedence for that book being the words that Enoch actually wrote. Second and third Enoch, which are much more esoteric texts, are not nearly as valid. They don't have the historicity of first Enoch. Good morning, Cindy P. Greek Homestead, Shalom. The book that I really enjoy, although I have several copies of the Apocrypha and the non-canonical texts, the one that I go to the most is called The Lost Books of the Bible by Joseph B. Lumpkin, Lumpkin, I believe. The Lost Books of the Bible by Joseph P. Lumpkin, and you can get that off of Bezos's fifth yacht. So it's actually a pretty good segue for the first thing I wanted to talk about this morning. In Tennessee, I believe, the House passed a bill into law. What part of California does your mother-in-law live in, and does she prep? She lives in Northern California, and yes, she does prep. And she's a badass woman, and pretty smoking hot too for all you people out there who are looking for a badass woman to do life with. But no, she's awesome. She might even be on here if you are. Good morning, Ma. She's awesome. In fact, one of the best things about doing life with my wife is that everybody in her family is awesome. And it's when I married my wife, when I started doing life with my wife. Do you even have coffee? What kind of dumbass question is that, Infantry 91? Ta-da! Right here. In fact, I'll take a sip of it. And for all the haters out there who don't like it when I slurp, oh, you want me to do my PJ impression? Good morning and welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. Talking fluid. Ahem. All right, so the 2 things that are going to get you are starvation and people behaving badly. Move. Come out of her, my people. Get out of the cities and get out of the built-up areas and come out here and live a neo-pioneering homestead lifestyle. Just kidding, PJ. Love that, brother. So, in Tennessee, they passed a law, which I'm in full support of. Oh, right, we were talking about my wife. We'll come back around to Tennessee. When I met my wife, the same day I met my wife, I met her mother, her grandmother, 2 of her uncles, neighbors, everybody, the same day. And instantly just fell in love with everybody. And so when I got my wife, I also got an awesome family, like as a package deal. And that's one of my favorite things, right? They're just really, really good people. And that's hard to find in today's day and age. So, if you're thinking about, taking on a wife, marrying a girl, you might think about what's her family like as well. For me, it was a no-brainer. I was like, hell yeah, I'm in. She got any cousins? I'm single. My wife has 1 single sister. So, anywho, you might think about, what kind of family am I getting out of this deal? Because they're probably not going to change. No, not Missouri. They're probably not going to change. Probably what you got is what you got. So, that's right, Kilo Grease. You're not marrying just a wife, you're marrying a family. So I was very, very blessed to have married into an awesome family. Just a bunch of really good people. And they treated me like family pretty much from jump. But they also did a really good job, frankly, of being them and setting the expectation of what it means to be them. And so I appreciate that. I respect that, right? They're like, hey, we do things a certain way. This is the way we are. We tolerate this. We don't tolerate that. And I was like, I dig that. I like that. So, point one. In Tennessee, a law was passed called Bentley's Law. And what Bentley's Law states, paraphrasing, is that if a drunk driver hits a vehicle and kills a parent in that vehicle, that the drunk driver is responsible to pay child support to the child of that parent who was killed, and possibly spousal support if the parent that was killed was the primary breadwinner in the family. I forgot my 3-finger holder at the house. I love this law. So my question for y'all in the chat, what do you think about that law? Thumbs up, good law. Thumbs down, bad law. Thumbs up. Hearts, awesome law, great law, etc., etc. Pass it in Texas. I saw somebody say it. I think it should be a national law, honestly. I don't track with drunk driving at all. And I had a guy that worked for me one time that had 9 DUIs. 9. Good morning, Jeremiah Noble. 9. What the hell? You should be property of the state at that point, right? So somebody said if you kill somebody while driving drunk, it should be the death sentence, period. Interesting you bring that up. So here's why I bring that up. And again, I don't intend this portion to be a cudgel to beat you over the head with. But the reason I bring this up, again, saying low-key observer, I love you. What does the Torah say? I love you. If you think that is a good law, a righteous law, but you're also under the impression, oh, well, yeah, jail time as well. For sure, there's jail time, but you're also responsible for replacing the income that breadwinner provided, okay? So it's called Bentley's Law. Look it up. It's in Tennessee, I believe. If you are of the opinion that all that Old Testament stuff was done away with because of Mashiach, because of Messiah, but you're in support of this law, I would encourage you to go read Exodus 21. Because this law is 100% in alignment with Exodus 21. Astoundingly so. And it actually, for me, it actually was really surprising and comforting to see, oh, there are some lawmakers out there who, whether they know it or not, are ascribing to biblical principles. If you injure somebody, you are responsible for that person. If somebody gets injured on your property, you are responsible for that person. You have to make them whole again. And if they never heal, you are responsible for them for life, right? Now, Exodus 21, because somebody will say, but what about grace? Well, here's the grace. Exodus 21 says, if you kill somebody, you will be killed. Right. So the grace is you get to keep your life. You're still alive. But that doesn't negate the consequences for your actions, right? The wages of sin are death. What is sin? It's transgression of the law. 5JAN23 verse 4, New Testament definition. So, but all have sinned, been lawless, and fallen short of the glory of Yah. Okay. Well, praise Messiah, you get to keep your life, but you are responsible for that person. Morning, Daryl. So I thought it was a really good law, and I'm encouraged to see it. And some people would say, well, it's a little brutal. Yeah, you killed somebody. You killed somebody. That's a little brutal. Now, and you can argue, is it murder or is it manslaughter? Well, you were doing something that statistically will result in somebody getting injured or killed, right? So you could easily make the argument it's premeditated. You knew if you were going to drink and then get into a car, it was premeditated. They can't be responsible for themselves. How are they going to be responsible for somebody else? Well, in my experience, one of the best ways to grow as a human being is to have a burden heaped upon you. So, I like it. Promotes justice and accountability. So, you are responsible for your actions. Exactly, Superfish. So, I like that law. And again, if you guys want to do some more research, it's called Bentley's Law. You can, I'm sure, find it on the Google machine, right? So check it out. But I thought it was a really good law, and it absolutely adheres to the spirit of Exodus 21. And don't see, actions have consequences. You reap what you sow, right? Old Testament and New Testament construct. Deuteronomy 28 plus the words of Messiah, right? If you diligently obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, you will be blessed. If you do not, you will be cursed. Well, Yah said, don't do dumb shit. Don't murder people. Don't commit manslaughter. Don't take chances. You want to drink at home. Invite your friends over, right? But even then, drunkenness is not biblically acceptable. Drinking's okay. I don't know, that pisses the Baptists off all the time. Drinking's okay, but drunkenness is not. I mean, go look at Yeshua's first miracle, water into wine, right? And what water was that? Those were the waters of purification, by the way. Yeah, the waters of purification, the red heifer. So, biblically, we shouldn't be drunk anyway. And but if you've had even a little bit, right? If you're even a little bit impaired, don't get behind the damn wheel, right? So, anyway, there is a modicum of grace in that law. As compared to the Torah, you should be dead. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a life for a life, right? So they're not, the state is not killing the person back for the life that they took. But they are holding them accountable for the costs associated with their negligent actions. And I think that's a great, great thing. I like that a lot. Second thing I wanted to talk about, just briefly, family commo, because I got a couple of giggles out of it this morning. I talked recently in a Patreon video about commo, right, and how to communicate with your family. And part of that is we have a family group text, myself, my wife, and my two oldest kids. And my oldest daughter sent a meme that was like a picture of a pissed off gorilla with the phrase underneath it that said, being a dad is basically being pissed off all the time and knowing everything. I was like, yeah, that's pretty much right. Yep. And then another meme was sent to the chat that was like a quote from a 6-year-old who was in tears, saying that she didn't want to grow up because she doesn't know how to bake, and baking is hard. She's not prepared for adulthood yet. That was you. Yeah, my wife sent that. Good job. So, you know, the commo there, it illustrates the point, like, yeah, we have a family group chat, and that's done intentionally so that we can communicate to our kids pertinent details throughout the day. Hey, you do this, I'll pick you up at this time, I need you to do this, bump plan, this thing happened, we got to do that, blah, 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 blah. When does the tactical toddler get a phone? Not anytime soon. She doesn't need to be calling anybody. Who's she gonna call? She does like to take her older siblings' phones and FaceTime her parents from time to time, which is interesting. She'll break the internet, exactly. So commo, right? It's important, but there's more. There can be more value in commo besides simply conveying pertinent information from one to the next, right? It can bring you joy as well. Helps you stay in touch with people, right? Let you know that you're thinking about them, that you love them, etc. Yeah, so I liked those memes. Third point, Speaker of the House debacle, right? You guys paying attention? I am vaguely to, good morning, Tribesman. Shalom, brother. I am vaguely paying attention to this Speaker of the House debacle. You guys know how I feel about Democrats versus Republicans. You know, they're both, the team that they are on, we are not on, right? They are on their own team, and we just get to pay money, i.e. taxes, to watch them play the little game that they play. So I'm not overly impressed by the political wranglings of either party at any time, right? I'm just not, just not into it. But it illustrates how messy politics are in the United States of America. And I think it's easy to focus on the negative aspects of look at these morons battling over who's the right person for this job, right? And it's Biden came out and said that this is a national embarrassment and that the whole world is watching, essentially, right? Yeshua incoming, yeah. When? I have no idea. No man knows the day or the hour. So therefore, watch. Wait and be watchful, right? Yeah, roger that. I'm watching, but I also don't superimpose the political events of the day into over the biblical text of Revelation and Matthew 24 and hope that today's the day. Because I think the chaos that ensues when Yeshua comes is far more than any of us actually realize. I have my days when I'm like, hey, today's the day. You got to come back. This world is a shit show, and we need you, right? I have those days. But I don't think anybody, including the strongest believers on the face of the earth, are really ready for what that looks like when he comes back. I mean, it's complete and utter chaos, right? But that being said, the idea that this political process is an embarrassment. On the other hand, one could argue that the messiness is good, because what that means is that we don't have people who rule by edict or credo, at least not absolutely, right? And I think that's a good thing. I think the more one can have a conversation, the more debate that's involved back and forth, the better decisions that can be made, right? This is Ray Dalio's idea of an idea meritocracy within an organization. You know, and I guess it's fresh on my mind because we had a camp meeting recently for Bear Camp, and we have a lot of people. And sometimes you get on a subject where a bunch of people feel the need to talk, and it's their right to talk and express their opinion, right? It's their right to talk and express their opinion. And sometimes that gets frustrating as the mayor of Bear Camp, right? Because it's like, I would just want to get to a resolution. So do we need to have an hour of discussion around this thing? Well, that impatience to get to a quick resolution rather than having an hour of discussion can be a very bad thing, because if we don't get all of the counterpoints and dissenting opinions out on the table, we're not actually making decisions with the full data set. And so that comes back to patience, right? The difference between my camp meeting and national politics is I implicitly, inherently trust with everything I've got all the people that I'm surrounded by that we're making these decisions with, versus Congress's 12% approval rating. You see what I mean? So there's a difference there. And I think the American populace, by and large, has lost its trust of the political system and its representatives long ago. But it does illustrate that as far as governance is concerned, for you and your mag, your team, your tribe, your family, your whatever, right? Whatever group you're plugged into, sometimes that radical discourse is good, because I don't know everything, man. Do you use a talking stick at camp? Bill Coffey, that's a really good question. One that probably most people would think is facetious, but it's not. What we do is we raise our hands, okay? And sometimes in the course of 30 seconds, 3 or 4 people will raise their hands. And then it's a matter of, as mayor, like wearing my mayor hat, keeping track of who raised their hands when, so we can go in order so that everybody gets a chance to speak. And if I miss it, my wife will usually whisper in my ear, hey, that person had their hand up. Oh, thanks, babe. Appreciate you. But that way we get all of those dissenting opinions and counterpoints out on the table so we can make the best decision possible. And there's no tyranny there, right? There's no edict or credos within the camp decision-making model. Am I capable of that? Yeah. Is that the best way to make decisions that affect all of us? No, it's not. Because again, it comes back to, I don't know everything. If I have any gifting, talent, or delight, it's the modicum of leadership that I'm able to bring to the table and try and keep people on track so that the discussion is pointed towards a common goal or pointed towards problem solving. Rather than us just flapping our jaws for the hell of it, right? Including me. So just something to be aware of in the governance within your teams, your groups, however you're doing these things. Allow people the opportunity to talk. Now, I try and keep it to 2 minutes or less when people talk, because some people, myself included at times, can run off at the mouth for 10 or 12 minutes before it's like, okay, we get the point. Shh. We also try and, like, if somebody says something and 12 people agree with them, not all 12 people need to speak for 2 minutes each to say, I agree with that person. Okay, awesome. And then typically the way we vote, just throwing this out here, the way we vote is we ask first if anybody is against this course of action, or are there any witnesses against this? And the Bible says, in the mouths of 2 or 3, let a thing be established, right? And so if there are 2 or 3 people against this course of action, now we need to examine why. Why? Because the decisions that we make at that level affect everybody. And if I trust my brothers and sisters, I trust that they're providing a good witness, and maybe they're seeing something that I don't see, which is really important to understand as a leader. Like, I don't know everything. I can't know everything. And the Father has unequivocally brought all these people around us so that we can do life together, live intentionally, keep his commands, be the hands and feet of Messiah, forsake not the gathering together, go forth and do meaningful, fruitful works, right? So we can do all these things. And so if we all acknowledge that it was the hand of Yah that brought us here, that means that there's a certain level of importance to every individual that's within the group, right? So therefore, let them speak. But we don't need 12 people to say, yes, I'm in support of that. And therefore, if 2 or 3 people have a witness against this person joining the team or this particular course of action, knowing that I trust them with my life, being perfectly honest, knowing that I trust them, I want to hear what their dissenting opinion is, why they have an issue with this. And so the first question is, are there any witnesses against this? And if the answer is no, then the next question is, witnesses for this? And again, in the mouths of 2 or 3, let a thing be established, right? And so I wish that we had that level of governance at a national level. We don't. But it does kind of illustrate what a representative republic should look like, if you ask me. I think it's a really good system. And the representative republic, by the way, yes, our founding fathers wrote that down on a piece of parchment 240 some odd years ago. But that comes from also the book of Exodus. Moshe and Yitro, or Jethro, as it's translated in the King James and all subsequent translations. Yitro, who was his father-in-law. Moses would sit in judgment and hear the gripes and the grumbles of all the Israelites day in, day out, and it was wearing him out. And you nailed government. Good morning, Michael T. Sr. Good morning, bro. And it was wearing him out, and so his father-in-law's like, brah, bro, you can't do this, man. You need captains of tens, captains of hundreds, captains of thousands. Captains of tens report to the captains of hundreds, the hundreds report to thousands, the thousands report to you. It's a span of control issue, right? And so those thousands basically become representatives of the people underneath of them, right? Which again gets back to, who do you nominate? Who do you elect as those tens, hundreds, thousands? Now, Moshe appointed those people because Moshe, A, was ordained by the Father, and B, knew them, right? Knew their particular characteristics and traits. But Moshe was also 100% subservient to Yah. And that's a big difference between the governance that's emulated, or displayed rather, in the book of Exodus, Yah's divine plan, versus the governance that we have here in the United States of America. And so at some point your group grows to the level that, and we're not there yet, but you know, be it Yah's will, we will be at some point. At some point your group grows to the point where there's not enough room for everybody at the table. That if everybody speaks, it takes 4 hours to get through one issue, which then becomes a thing of probably need captains of tens, right? You probably need representatives at that point to speak on behalf of this group of households, if you will. So I've been paying attention to the Speaker of the House thing, but more so in the sense that I think there's a lot of learning points for us there, rather than, oh my gosh, what an international embarrassment. No. It's good to have discourse. It's good to take the time to find the best possible solution, rather than just ramming something through that has huge implications on the back end, right? You know what I mean? Good morning, Action Jackson, with your pink glove. Ooh, got windy. There's that plane. Thomas knows what's up. That's right. Tarpanelli, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. That's a huge super chat. Thank you so much. They are an excellent example of how not to govern a group. I agree, Badger. And then, so that comes back to like humility and vertical alignment, right? If you understand the response, sister, I'm sorry. Thank you so much, sister. I will remember that. But thank you so very much. Appreciate that. That comes back to understanding the weight of the situation that you find yourself in, right? If you are an elected representative, you are responsible for representing all these people underneath of you. And if you are humbly submitted to Yah and his will, then hopefully that goes well for you, because you're doing things Yah's way, not your way. Which again gets back to, we don't really do that in the United States of America anymore. We talk about how this country was founded on Judeo-Christian values, but we don't talk about how it should still be operated with Judeo-Christian values. And even for the Muslims, the Buddhists, the atheists, the flying spaghetti monster people, I think we can all agree that basic morals and ethics, as outlined by the creator of the universe, is a good way to live your life, right? Don't steal, don't murder, don't adulterate, don't be a whore, love your neighbor as yourself. If you break it, you fix it. If you injure somebody, you make it right. If you kill somebody, if you murder somebody, we murder you back, right? Like, basic fundamental stuff. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. But the tithe was 10%, right? Like my tax burden this year was like, my percentage was 38%. F you. Federal government. You get 4 times what Yah gets? Who the hell do you think you are? Right? So if Yah could run a temple on 10%, and provide for the entirety of the Levites with excess to bless the land and forsake not the widow and the orphan, pretty sure the federal government could operate on 10%. But you also look at the children of Israel did not have a standing army, right? And George Washington and many of our founding fathers were very against having a standing army. When it was wartime, the king would say to his generals, hey, Benny Yahoo, how many peeps we got? And he'd be like, Let me ride through the land and figure that out for you. Well, the children of Judah have got 137,000 people, 128,000 from Benjamin. Naphtali's got 212. Issachar's got 168,000. Yep, we're about 1.4 million. All right, cool. Let's go smash the Hittites because they're getting a little rowdy, right? And then they'd go to war. They'd smash some Hittites, collect some booty, and then come home. Interestingly, in 1 Chronicles, if the children of Israel, because at one point Israel and Judah, they were separated, right? So under two different kings, long story, right? Long story. But there was the house of Judah, the house of Israel. If they found themselves in conflict with their brothers, the children of Israel, they were instructed not to take booty. There was no war bounty, right? They didn't go take all the sheep and the goats and the young women and all the silver. Because even though their brothers were out of line and they had to get their pee-pee schwacked, it's still their brother. They're in war with their brother. But there was no, pillaging. There was none of that. That was not allowed. You go fight these heathens over here, whatever you can carry home, it's yours. So, interesting, right? It's so windy. Naked Bible Podcast. Never heard of that. So, that's basically my 3 points for this morning. What are you smoking, Bear? This is Perdomo Maduro 10-year anniversary. That's very good, but smoking a little rough because I found it underneath a ratchet set in one of the toolboxes on my truck this morning. Perdomo Maduro 10-year anniversary. Blue label. That one right there. Really good stick. One of my mentors, Danny from Vine and Branches, put me onto this stick about a year ago. And I'll tell you what, if you're in North Texas, Dallas, north of Dallas, anywhere around there, all the areas, Frisco, Denton, Garland, Gunner, Prosper, all the way down to, University Park. If you're in North Texas / Dallas, Allen area over there on 75, and you need anything made out of wood, whether it's furniture, tables, chairs, custom cabinets, slab tops, whatever, Danny is an absolute craftsman, at master woodworker. He's where I learned woodworking from. His company is called Vine and Branches Fine Woodworks. Vine and Branches Fine Woodworks. Let your fingers do some searching on the internet. You can find them. Great company, great people, phenomenal woodworking. So, about how many sticks do you keep in your humidor? Which humidor? I'm a prepper. We got a big humidor at the shop that's probably got a couple hundred sticks in it right now. And I've got about 100 on my porch, and I've got about 60 in my truck. So, although I'm smoking a lot fewer cigars, believe it or not, these days than I was. At the height of my fatness, I'm ashamed to say I was smoking 5 or 6 cigars a day. And I'm like, man, I feel like shit. It's like, oh, gee, I wonder why. Because you're fat and you sit around and smoke all day. Who'd have thought? So I have 1, maybe 2 nowadays. So, why do I picture Bear with a 55-gallon barrel made into a humidor? Yeah. Somebody said, is the Bear store going away? Yes, the store at bearindependent.com is going away. It's you'll still be able to get the digital download of the Prepper Classroom there, but all the physical products are going away. The reason for that is it's biblical. It's unequal weights and measures. That company that I'm not allowed to talk about, refugeradical.com, That one. That one has grown, .corn, that's right, refugereticle.corn, has grown so tremendously over the last few years thanks to y'all and thanks to the Most High, that the shipping and receiving department, thank you, Jerry Birchfield, nephewsreticle.corn. The shipping and receiving department at Refuge began to do fulfillment for Bear Independent. So if you order something from the Bear store at the Refuge building, they would fulfill all of that product, right? There was like a shelf that had Bear product on it, and they'd send it out. The problem with that is it's unequal weights and measures. That's a biblical term for it. But from a business standpoint, we didn't have what's called a natural costing for both Bear Independent or Refuge Medical, because Bear Independent wasn't paying for the fulfillment of those products, and Refuge Medical was having to factor in the fulfillment of those products to their daily operating expenses. That's not right. Now, is there a massive product that flies off the shelves from the Bear store? No, there's not, but it's still not right. The Bear store is nothing compared to nephewsreticle.corn. So, but the decision was made to either have a dedicated staff to work the Bear store or to delete the Bear store. And so we deleted the Bear store. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to still do like t-shirts through Sanctified Supply Co. In fact, Sanctified Supply Co., if you're on Patreon, does all the fulfillment now on Patreon for the Bear coffee mugs, the Bear t-shirts, the Bear hoodies. Thank you, Carrie Stunded. I appreciate you. So they're doing all the fulfillment on those products. We've farmed that out. We've outsourced that to them. Again, it shows you what we think of Sanctified Supply Co., right? Like, good people. So, but as far as maintaining an inventory of Bear product at the Refuge store and using Refuge staff to sell it, now we're not going to do that. So that's why. And so there's a handful of things left at the Bear store, bearindependent.com. You can just go there, look at the store. There's a handful of things left, t-shirts, patches, stickers, and they're all basically on clearance, right? So get them while you can, because after that, there ain't going to be anything else to get. So, and because the Spirit says so, let's end with a little bit of prayer. Good morning, Father Yah. Father, thank you for the sunrise. Thank you for another day on this side of the dirt. Father, thank you for all the awesome people that you put around me, for my wife, and for my children, and for Grandma, and for my extended family, and for my friends here at Bear Camp, for all the brothers and sisters. Father, everybody who's going through something this morning, I just lift them up to you. I ask that your will would be done, but I also pray selfishly for intercession, that you would heal those who need to be healed, that you would minister to those that need to be ministered, that you would lift up and build up those that need to be lifted up and built up. Father, thank you for the blood of your Son. Thank you for making a way for us to come home again. Thank you for loving us enough to kill yourself for us, that we would have a way. Father, thank you for the wind and the Ruach HaKodesh and the breath of life and the Spirit. Father, I pray that you'd pour your Spirit out on us, that you would fill us with your Ruach for wisdom and discernment, that you would teach us to be obedient, teach us to walk in your ways, empower us to be your hands and feet, Father, that you would bring us peace that surpasses all understanding, that our light would shine out into the darkness and the darkness would comprehendeth not. Father, thank you for everything, for the trials, for the tribulations, for the heartache, for the good days, for the bad days. Father, thank you that we count it all joy as we fall into various trials. Thank you for the promise of a good life, not an easy life. Thank you for choosing us out of all the world to be your set-apart people. Thank you for all the mentors that you've sent to me, all the shepherds who have taught me to walk on the straight and narrow. Thank you for the example that you've given us through Messiah to teach us how to walk, to help us relearn, to not depart from the path to the left or the right, but to stay on the straight and narrow, and to love you with everything that we've got, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. Father Yah, we love you. You are absolutely awesome. Pray that you'd be indwelt in us today, that you would empower us to do good works on behalf of you, that people would see us and know you. You are incredible, and we humble ourselves before you and ask all this in Yeshua's name. Amen. Praise Yah. Love y'all. I'm gonna go cut timber with my wife, I think, who's incredible and is learning how to operate heavy equipment and who impresses me more and more every day. Y'all have a blessed day, Bear Nation. Go be the light. Go put a smile on the Father's face. Shalom.